Hi, my name is John Peterson, and as some of you may know, I'm one of the creators, initiators, whatever you want to call it, of Environmental Dashboard. And what I want to do is to quickly walk you through how we would like you to show this website to students in dorms. One of our whole objectives in running an Ecolympics competition is to get students looking at data on their dorms, seeing patterns in their dorms, understanding how they use electricity and water, and by seeing the patterns of use, understand how they might better strategize to conserve resources and win the competition. So let's go ahead and get started. We're starting at environmentaldashboard.org, and then we're going to click on Ecolympics 2023, and it's going to load this page. And if people want to know what kind of events are going on in the community, this little link up here is going to feature Ecolympics events that are open to the entire community. So that's a thing there. It's a bit of an explanation here, obviously. The standings are down here. It is important that you kind of explain to people how that works. This is a test competition we set up just so that you could do that. These are the schools at the top, and then you've got the community buildings that are participating, and then below that, you've got the dorms that are participating. Again, this is just a test competition, but you can see arrows going down means that they've reduced. Arrows going up means that they've increased. So no competition has started. You need to explain that, but that's a test competition. But what you really want to do is get them to click on this button. This is where they can actually see patterns of use and figure out what could we do to conserve resources. So I'll quickly take you to a couple dorms here just as examples. I'll click on Barnard first, which only has electricity and water metered in it. And if I scroll down the page here a little bit, this is typical use, this green line, and because I'm shooting this very late at night, there's not much into today. So I'm going to look, you can choose what time period you want to look at. And this is important to show them that they can see patterns over different time scales. So this is basically yesterday's data. And obviously you see the squirrel getting happy or sad, depending on what current resources, that's the blue line, relative to typical resource, which is calculated for this time at this particular time of day. So it takes a bunch of data from the past and uses that to calculate what's typical in the dorm. And that's important for them to understand. And sometimes it's useful to look at longer time periods, 7-day time periods. That gives you the chance to sort of see how weekends differ from weekdays. So there's interesting stuff to be done with different time scales. Below that is the fish. And again, I'll switch to the last 24 hours, but very important that people can understand they can see different time scales there. This below this is called a heat map. I won't say a whole lot about that, except that every column here is an hour of the day. Every row is a day of the year. And so you can kind of begin to see how patterns work out. Like there's very little electricity use, obviously between 4 and 8 a.m. You can see that as the green here. And then you really see high electricity use late at night. That's when things really ramp up. This is a heat map for, this should be a heat map for water use. I'm going to fix that because it looks like it's another heat map for electricity use, which it shouldn't be. Actually, I think it is a heat map for water use, but it's just not labeled appropriately. I have to fix that. So the other thing I want to show you is some of the dorms have sub-metering in them, which means it's not just the whole building that's metered, but there are different floors and stuff metered. And that's really quite useful for figuring out who's using what. So in Asia House, we don't actually have water meters, so you're only seeing electricity here. But this graph here is of electricity use in lots of different spaces within the building. So you might look at the library and ask the question, hey, why is library use really high at 10 p.m.? What's going on there? Is there something we could use we could do differently? And actually see library use is pretty high regularly, so maybe there's something plugged into the library that could be unplugged. But at any rate, in many dorms, there's sub-metering or um, or different things that are metered. And so depending on the particular dorm, there's more or less information, but all of that information can potentially be useful. So I think I'll go ahead and stop there. But the central point is you really want to get people clicking on this and showing them what patterns are like in their dorms and asking them questions about, hey, given these patterns, what could you guys do to alter your behavior? Because it's the folks who are really looking at this data and figuring out what can we do to change the way electricity and water use in our dorm who are going to do best in the competition. All right, thanks for listening to me, and have fun explaining this to people.